Case of dead teenager at cemetery is solved. Dawn Olanick's cold case. For 4 decades, Princess Doe was only recognized as a young woman whose brief life was ruthlessly ended. Authorities revealed on July 2022 that a girl known as Princess Doe, whose bones were discovered in a New Jersey cemetery 40 years ago, is actually a teenager from Long Island. In a press conference, Princess Doe was revealed to be 17-year-old Long Islander Dawn Olanick 40 years after her body was found in a New Jersey cemetery. The mystery of Princess Doe, a teenage girl whose mutilated body was discovered in a New Jersey cemetery 40 years ago but was never recognized, has been solved, and the victim is a Long Island resident who was murdered by a man after leaving her family's house, authorities announced on Friday the 8th of July, 2022. Lehigh Valley Live reports that after Kinlaw attempted to seduce Olanick into prostitution and she refused, he killed her. Her remains were discovered on July 25, 1982, in Blairstown, northwest New Jersey, not far from the Pennsylvania border. According to the authorities, she was severely battered. Dawn Olanick, a student at the Connecticut High School who vanished in July 1982 at the age of 17, was identified as the victim of an assault in Blairstown, New Jersey by DNA testing, according to Warren County Prosecutor James Pfeiffer. Mr. Kinlaw was accused of killing a girl whose body had been discovered in the East River 14 years earlier in 1998 in New York City. He had been accused of conducting a prostitution ring in the Bronx, according to the New York Police Department at the time. Authorities also named and charged Arthur Kinlaw, 68, who they have labeled as a pimp and who is currently serving time for the murders of 2 other Long Island women. Kinlaw is suspected of killing the women. He was accused with murder in connection with the passing of Olanick. A photograph of Arthur Kinlaw that accompanied a story in Newsday on October 10, 1999. According to court documents, Kinlaw wrote to authorities from prison in 2005, confessing to the killing of the girl discovered in the Cedar Ridge Cemetery, but police were never able to bring charges against him because the body had not been located. The process of identifying Miss Olanick, which started in 2007 when the Center for Human Identification at the University of North Texas analyzed her skeletal remains for DNA, was necessary before he could be charged with the crime. As opposed to that, it was interred in the cemetery beneath a monument erected by locals that read, "Princess Doe, missing from home, dead among strangers, remembered by all, born, found July 15, 1982. The neighborhood organized for the girl's funeral and hosted yearly memorial services. Authorities were finally able to identify the remains as belonging to Olanick, owing to cutting-edge DNA and genealogy techniques, Pfeiffer said. DNA technology and genetic genealogy basically make the impossible possible in this case for us, he stated. Without technology, we would have never been able to identify her and solve this crime. After not knowing what happened to her for 40 years, her family was devastated by the revelation, according to Pfeiffer in an interview. The family, after someone's missing for 40 years, it's just a sense of loss, he stated. They never gave up hope. On the other hand, it's almost an insurmountable challenge to try and find somebody. They're overjoyed and relieved, he continued. Although they visited her gravesite and were present at a news conference on Friday in New Jersey, the families are not yet prepared to speak to the media, he said. For them, he continued, it was a really emotional charged day. It's pretty rough on the family. After completing her junior year at Connecticut, Olanick moved out of her family's house, and soon after, she vanished, according to Pfeiffer. She had barely been outside the family house for a very little time when she ran into Mr. Kinlaw, he claimed. Bayshaw, Brentwood, Islip, Amityville, Bohemia, and Bellport were among the places where Kinlaw worked, trying to recruit minors or young people to become sex workers, Pfeiffer said. Authorities suspect she was staying in West Babylon and was likely picked up somewhere in the vicinity. Dawn Olanick vanished from Long Island, where she resided with her mother and sister when she was a junior at Connecticut High School in Bohemia, New York. He was attempting to coerce her into becoming a prostitute, and she was not interested in that, and as a result of that, he killed her, he claimed. He would search out young women in those different towns, approach them, and ask them if they would be interested in prostitution. The information was released on the 40th anniversary of the day Miss Olanick's mutilated body was discovered in a forested area close to the steep slope leading to a stream by George Keese, a laborer at Blairstown Cedar Ridge Cemetery. She had a skirt and a short-sleeved shirt, but no socks, stockings, or undergarments, according to officials. Despite Kinlaw's attempts to persuade Olanick otherwise, the two of them traveled to New Jersey in a car together as witness number 1 and witness number 2. According to court documents, he may have used a baseball bat to repeatedly hit her head there at the cemetery, according to Pfeiffer. On July 15, 2007, Howard Mott reaches for Princess Doe's headstone at Cedar Ridge Cemetery in Blairstown, New Jersey, during a memorial service. According to investigators, she suffered several fractures to her face and skull and died as a result. According to court documents, her face was pummeled so terribly it rendered recognition difficult. The report stated that Olanick was wearing a red pullover short-sleeve shirt and a skirt with a red and white design when she was slain. The clothes are still in police hands. The papers state that on July 15, 1982, a cemetery worker discovered her body in a densely forested region of the burial grounds. Exactly 40 years later, her body was located. She was buried by locals, and when authorities tried to identify her, they gave her the name Princess Doe and buried her. There is a gravestone at her burial place that reads, "Princess Doe, missing from home, dead among strangers, remembered by all." The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children reports that she was wearing distinctive attire and that her right hand's nails were painted red while her left hand's nails were uncoated. This was a historic moment for missing and unidentified persons that has continued to play a crucial role in investigations since, the center said. About a year after her body was discovered, FBI Director William H. Webster entered Princess Doe as the first case involving an unidentified individual into the NCIC, or National Crime Information Center, computer database. In 1999, authorities exhumed her body in order to collect DNA samples, but they were unable to identify her. Her remains were reburied. When businesses like Astra Forensics of California and Innovative Forensics of Virginia were able to compile DNA and genealogy data that identified the victim presumably as Olanick, it marked a turning point in the case 4 decades after her murder. Astra Forensics received Princess Doe's tooth and eyelash in 2021 for potential DNA extraction. According to Carol Schwitzer, the center's forensic supervisor, they are able to extract DNA from samples that are damaged or otherwise would have little value. The organizations predicted that Princess Doe will finally be identified as Olanick using DNA testing and forensic genetic genealogy methods. The identity of an attorney who could defend Kinlaw against the latest allegations wasn't immediately known. Authorities announced that Olanick's identification had finally been verified on April 29th. During a news conference on Friday with the New Jersey State Police and other law enforcement and supporting agencies, Warren County Prosecutor James Pfeiffer stated, "For 40 years, law enforcement has not given up on Princess Doe." On July 15, 2022, the 40th anniversary of the discovery of Princess Doe's battered remains in the woods at the edge of Cedar Ridge Cemetery, fresh flowers and keepsakes will be placed on her burial in Blairstown, New Jersey. Authorities said they contacted some of her relatives on Long Island and obtained DNA samples that proved it. According to Pfeiffer, the businesses can leverage sizable DNA public databases like 23andMe and Ancestry.com in their work. Kinlaw is currently incarcerated for 2 further killings that occurred on Long Island. He also applied for parole, which was denied. But even if it was approved, Pfeiffer said he will be sent back to Warren County for the suspected murder of Olanick. With that, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you for watching, and guys, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, and also press the bell icon so you can watch the upcoming videos. Also, share your thoughts in the comment box.